Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you, cut through all that noise out there. Information overload is real, right? So our mission is simple. Give you that shortcut to be genuinely well-informed. We dig deep, find the gems, maybe have a little fun, help you connect the dots. Today, we're diving into something ancient, but honestly, incredibly relevant. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Now, hold on. Forget the bendy poses for a sec. Think of this more like, well, a user manual for your own mind. It's old, yeah, but surprisingly practical for today.
And the lens we're using is pretty specific. It's Yogi Madhavaya, or Michael Beloved's, translation and commentary. His own journey is fascinating. He was actually schooled in this yoga by Srila Yogeshwarananda, but he admits being shocked by Patanjali's, quote, crude pronouncements and his total disregard for the psychosis of an average human being.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not a sanitized version. It really highlights how tough Sanskrit translation is and how the translator's view shapes everything. Avakari's take is, well, unique.
Okay, so his direct experience gives us a really interesting perspective. Our goal today, unpack the core ideas, find those surprising nuggets, and figure out how these ancient insights can help you right now deal with information overload, quiet the mental static, and gain real self-knowledge. This isn't just dusty philosophy. It's a toolkit. All right, let's get into it. When people hear yoga, they usually think postures, right? Breathing, maybe. But Patanjali starts somewhere totally different. What is yoga for him at its core?
He really does start differently. Verse 1.2 gives us the foundation. Yoga Chtafati Nirodha. Madhvacarya translates it as, the skill of yoga is demonstrated by the conscious non-operation of the vibrational modes of the mento-emotional energy.
Okay, vibrational modes of mental-emotional energy. Break that down.
Think of your mind like a radio constantly scanning stations, picking up static fragments of songs. These chitta vrittis are all those fluctuations, the endless activity of your mind and emotions. Yoga is learning to consciously turn down the volume to stop the scanning. Nirodha means cessation, control, stopping.
I like that radio analogy. So these vibrational modes, is it all mental activity, even good thoughts? How do they, mess with our clarity when we're trying to focus?
Exactly. It's not just about negative thoughts, which is a common misconception. Verse 1.6 lists 5 types of vrittis: correct perception, incorrect perception, viparya, imagination, vikalpa, sleep nidra, and memory smrtya.
Even sleep.
Even sleep and correct perception. The key problem Patanjali highlights is their impulsiveness. As the commentary says, we often do not control this, but rather this happens reflexively.
Reflexively.
Yeah, like breathing almost. It just happens. Madhvacarya uses this really stark example in the commentary. A tired man driving. He falls asleep at the wheel.
Oh, wow.
He only realizes he was asleep after crashing, waking up injured in a hospital. His mind was operating in the nidra or sleep mode, but completely outside conscious control, dangerously so.
That's powerful. So it's not just stopping bad thoughts. It's gaining mastery over the entire mental operation. Why is that so critical? What's the deeper issue Patanjali is getting at?
Well, the commentary on 1.8 points out that the real problem isn't just the wrong views or the impulsive actions themselves. It's the underlying vibrations in the energy which cause the wrong views in the first place.
Okay. Getting to the root cause.
Exactly. The goal isn't just damage control, it's prevention. Training the psyche to recognize these vibrations and consciously stop them. So the mind only functions with vibrations that produce true, correct perception. But this takes, as he says, repeated practice, abhisa, and really requires mastering pranayama, the breath control techniques, but plus intense vigilance and, importantly, acute dispassion. It's a total system reboot.
A system reboot?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a huge undertaking. Years, maybe lifetimes. Where does someone even start to get that kind of control? It feels almost impossible.
Patanjali gives us 2 main pillars in verse 1.12, abhisa and vairagya.
Okay, abhyasa. That's the practice, right? The persistent effort.
Right. Effective, consistent yoga practice. And then there's vairagya, usually translated as non-attachment or detachment. But Madhvacarya emphasizes it's more like non-interest, non-interference. The commentary calls it an attitude of non-interference in cultural activities, a deep lack of concern for the usual worldly dramas and distractions that pull our energy.
Non-interference in cultural activities. That's quite a radical detachment.
It is. And Patanjali doesn't sugarcoat the timeline. The commentary on 1.14 is blunt. What was acquired over millions and millions of births will take some time for its removal. It will not go away overnight.
Millions of births.
Okay.
No quick fixes here.
Nope. So the practice has to be continuous, reverential, sustained practice, which is executed for a long time. Persistence, reverence, duration, they're crucial.
That really puts our impatience into perspective. But is there any way to speed things up? A shortcut, maybe?
Well, verse 1.21 offers some hope. It says, "For those who practice forcefully in a very intense way, the skill of yoga will be achieved very soon."
Ah, intensity.
Yes, but there's a big but. Verse 1.22 mentions different levels or ratings of practice: intense, mediocre, slight. However, Madhvacarya adds a crucial warning from his understanding. Practicing intensely with the wrong methods is dangerous. It just gets you the wrong results faster.
Right. So intensity needs correct guidance. Got it. Now, Patanjali also brings in something else, a special method involving a supreme lord, Aishvara. How does that fit with this very internal psychological work?
That's a great question. Aishvara is introduced around verse 1.23. He's described as that special person who is not affected by troubles, actions, developments, or by subconscious motivations. What's really key is that Aishvara isn't just unaffected. He's the unsurpassed origin of all knowledge. And fascinatingly, he's the guru even of the ancient teachers, unconditioned by time.
The guru of the gurus, timeless. So not just a deity in the conventional sense, but the ultimate source of this wisdom.
Precisely, the source itself.
So how does a practitioner, connect with this Aishvara? Is it prayer, worship, or something different?
The connection method given is very specific. The sacred syllable Om, written as O. Verse 1.27 says this is Jiva's designation, his sound form, the practice. Verse 1.28 says constant repetition of Om with deep feeling for realizing its meaning.
Constant repetition with feeling.
Yes. And verse 1.29 tells us the result. It leads to inwardness of the sense consciousness, turning attention away from the external world and, crucially, the disappearance of obstacles to progress. It helps quiet the internal noise and conserve that vital mental energy.
Okay, so Om helps clear the path by removing obstacles. What exactly are these obstacles that keep tripping us up on this journey?
Patanjali lays them out quite clearly in verse 130. These are the antaraya, the impediments. The list includes things like disease, idleness or lack of inner drive, stout, sashaya, carelessness or inattentiveness, mamada, lack of energy or laziness, alasya, clinging to sense pleasures, avirati, mistaken views or delusion, prantadarchana, failing to reach milestones, alaptapumikatva, and instability once a stage is reached, anamasitattvani. Quite a list.
Wow, yeah, covers a lot of ground, mentally and even physically.
Absolutely. And verse 1.31 adds the physical symptoms that often accompany these mental distractions: distress, depression, or despair, dharmanasya, nervousness or trembling, alkamajayatva, and irregular breathing, vasaprashasa. It shows how interconnected the mind and body are in this struggle.
It really paints a picture of inner turmoil manifesting outwards. Can you elaborate on a couple of those obstacles based on the commentary, like idleness or mistaken views?
Sure. The commentary on idleness suggests some people simply lack the gamsha, that inner fire or drive needed for liberation. It's not just physical laziness. For mistaken views, the commentary links avoiding them to purifying the Kundalini chakra and maintaining disciplines like celibacy, seeing it as tied to managing vital life energies. And unsteadiness, that inability to maintain progress, often blamed on cultural activities, pulling focus, making worldly things seem more important than the practice.
That cultural pull is definitely relatable. So many potential pitfalls. How does Patanjali advise us to actually deal with these? What's the strategy?
The first step, verse 1.32, is committing to the practice of a standard method, focusing your effort on one chosen reality or principle. Ekatatva abhyasa. Don't scatter your energy. Then, verse 1.33 gives this incredibly practical advice for cultivating mental peace, or serenity of nature. It involves actively cultivating friendliness towards the happy, compassion towards the suffering, cheerfulness towards the virtuous, and neutrality or non-responsiveness towards the wicked, or towards lower energies.
So it's not just about ignoring negativity, but actively cultivating positive states towards others and maintaining neutrality towards disturbances.
Exactly. It's a proactive approach to managing your internal environment by managing your attitude towards the external world. Kind of emotional aikido.
I like that, emotional aikido.
Yeah.
Now, many listeners probably associate yoga primarily with asana, the postures, and maybe pratyuma, breathing. How do those fit into this much larger system focused on the mind?
They are absolutely part of it, but they're stages within a larger framework. The 8 limbs, or Ashtanga yoga, outlined later, starting around verse 2.29. You have the ethical foundations, yamas, restraints, and yamas, observances. Then come asana, posture, and prayama, breathe energy enrichment. These prepare the physical and energetic body.
Okay, preparation.
Right. They create stability and calmness needed for the deeper work. Then comes pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, turning inward. This is the crucial pivot. After that, you get into the purely internal psychological limbs. Dharana, concentration, fixing the mind.
Got it.
Dhyana, meditation, sustained concentration. And samadhi, absorption, complete integration.
Dhyana Samadhi.
Yes. And those last three together, Patanjali calls samyama in verse 3.4. Applying samyama to different things is how the yogi gains deep knowledge and potentially those mystic skills or siddhis. These are the higher states that verse 3.7 says concern the psychological organs.
Okay. Samyama leads to the cities. This sounds like where things get really, well, extraordinary. What kind of skills are we talking about? What did you find in the sources?
Oh, the siddhis described are truly mind-bending. Verse 3.16 talks about gaining knowledge of past and future lives through samyama on impressions.
Past and future lives.
Yes. Verse 3.17, knowledge of the sounds or languages of all creatures. Verse 3.19, knowing the contents of others' minds. Verse 3.21 discusses making the body invisible.
Invisible.
Seriously.
Seriously. And the commentary on 3.22 adds that anecdote about Rishi Singh Garwal supposedly being hired by the British government to demonstrate this by finding himself after hiding. Whether true or not, it shows the tradition.
That's amazing. What else? Knowledge of death or the hereafter, 3.23. Gaining the strength of an elephant, 3.25. Detailed knowledge of the solar system, the stars, their movements, 3.2729. Knowing the layout of one's own body, 3.30. Suppressing hunger and thirst, 3.31. Even developing supernatural senses, divine smelling, tasting, seeing, touching, hearing, 3.37, 3.42. And 3.43 describes becoming as light as cotton fluff and being able to travel through the sky.
Goodness, strength of an elephant, invisibility, knowing other minds, space travel. It sounds like becoming superhuman.
It certainly sounds that way. And interestingly, verse 4.1 notes these powers don't only come from samadhi. They can arise from birth in certain species, from specific herbs or drugs, from mantras or sounds, or from intense austerity.
So multiple paths to powers, but samyama is the yogic way. This is just, wow. Knowing everything, going anywhere, being invisible. It sounds like the ultimate payoff. But knowing Patanjali's focus, there has to be a catch, right? Are these powers the actual goal?
And that is the absolute crucial point. The giant aha moment Patanjali delivers. Right after listing many of these abilities, verse 3.38 states, quite clearly, those divination skills are obstacles in the practice of continuous, effortless linkage. But in expressing outwardly, they are considered as mystic perfectional skills.
Obstacles. But they sound so incredible.
Obstacles to samadhi, to the ultimate goal. Madhukakuriya's commentary here is quite biting. He warns that yogis who get distracted for exhibitions of the perfectional skills often become premature gurus of a very gullible and stupid public.
Ouch, premature gurus. So the powers are real, potentially, but they're also major spiritual traps, sidetracked.
Exactly, seductive distractions that can pull the practitioner away from the real work, the ultimate aim of liberation.
Okay, so if even these astonishing powers are just distractions, what is the real ultimate goal of yoga according to Patanjali? What's the liberation from?
Liberation is from avidya, spiritual ignorance. Verse 2.3 calls avidya the root cause of all our suffering, our mental and emotional distress.
Spiritual ignorance. How does he define that?
Verse 2.5 gives a classic definition. Avidya is identifying the temporary as eternal, the impure as pure, the distressful as joyful, and the non-self as the self, mistaking the mundane for the spiritual.
So basically seeing reality completely backward.
In a fundamental way, yes. And verse 2.24 gets to the core issue. This avidya is the cause of the conjunction, the mistaken entanglement between the seer, the true self, the puru, and the seen, the mind, senses, material nature, prakriti. We identify with our thoughts, our body, our experiences, instead of realizing our true nature as the pure consciousness observing it all.
Wow, that's deep. Our fundamental problem is a case of mistaken identity caused by this ignorance. So how do we fix that? How do we break that conjunction?
The way to break it, according to verse 2.26, is the uninterrupted practice of discriminative insight, vivekakatya. Developing the constant ability to see the difference between the seer and the seen. Verse 2.27 mentions this discrimination unfolds in 7 stages of progressive clarity.
7 stages of insight. And where does this lead? What's the final state called?
It leads to kaivalyam. This term appears several times, like in 2.25, 3.56, and it's the title of the final chapter. It means isolation, aloneness, independence. Now, Madhavakarya's commentary is crucial here. He stresses that Kaivalyam is not merging with God or becoming one with everything, as some interpretations might suggest.
Not oneness. What is it then?
For Patanjali, according to this interpretation, it's the total separation of the perceiver from the mundane psychology. It's the isolation of the self from its lower psyche. The Atma, the individual spirit, becomes completely free from its dependence on the mind, the emotions, the senses, those useful and domineering subtle tools, as the commentary puts it.
So liberation isn't merging, but disentangling.
Yeah.
Becoming purely oneself, separate from the mental machinery.
Precisely. A state of pure, unadulterated consciousness, no longer identified with or bound by the fluctuations of prithvi. In this state, the yogi's perspective shifts completely. Verse 4.7 says, their actions, born from this deep realization, are neither white nor black, meaning beyond the usual karmic consequences of good or bad deeds. They're free from that cycle. Cultural activities become neither rewarding nor penalizing. This culminates in what verse 4.29 calls Dharmamika Samadhi, the cloud of virtue, or super-discrimination samadhi. This arises for the yogi who is completely disinterested, even in the highest knowledge, seeing no gains in material nature.
The cloud of virtue samadhi.
Yes. And this leads directly to the cessation of suffering and karmic entanglement. Verse 4.30. Once the citta, the mento-emotional energy, stops generating new activities and afflictions, then, verse 4.31 says, unlimited knowledge becomes available, free from all coverings. Finally, verse 4.32 states that the Gudas, the fundamental qualities of material nature, having fulfilled their purpose of providing experience and liberation for the Pura, their progressive alterations end. Nature basically rolls up its carpet for that individual soul. The show is over.
Wow. That's an incredibly profound arc. From understanding the mind's basic fluctuations to achieving complete isolated freedom from them. This deep dive really reveals yoga as something far beyond exercise. It's a rigorous science of consciousness.
It truly is. A science aimed at liberation from mental and emotional entanglement, where even those incredible mystic powers are seen as potential pitfalls on the way to the real goal. That state of Kaivalyam, the total separation, achieved through relentless practice and discriminative insight.
So thinking about our listeners, what does all this mean for you? Living your life today, dealing with endless emails, news alerts, social media, how can these ancient, perhaps intimidating ideas actually apply?
Well, here's a final thought to leave you with, drawn from verse 4.0. Patanjali states that our deep-seated memories, impressions, and even our fundamental drives of hope and desire, they are primeval, without a beginning, and eternal as well. So the question for you to ponder is this. If these core energies, your deepest patterns, hopes, fears, desires, are essentially beginningless and eternal, what does that really imply about your struggles right now, your ambitions?
Yep.
Are you truly free in charting your course day to day, or are you perhaps unknowingly just riding this ancient, eternal wave of pre-existing tendencies? Until you consciously learn through something like this practice how to finally step off.
Are we riding the wave, or can we step off? That's a powerful question to sit with. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. We hope it gave you some valuable insights to explore further. We'll see you next time.